Women learn Transcendental Meditation for many different reasons. It may be because a doctor recommends it as a means of addressing any of a wide range of health issues. Some women learn Transcendental Meditation because they're looking for a way to reduce stress. And some may just want to find a way to sleep better at night. Some want to be more creative or more successful in their professional lives. Others may be looking to improve their relationships or seeking to deepen their spiritual development. And some women just want to be happier. But for whatever reason a woman learns Transcendental Meditation, she'll experience benefits in all areas of her life. The Transcendental Meditation technique is much more than just a stress management technique. It is a powerful method of unfolding a woman's full potential and developing higher states of consciousness. Hello and welcome to this introduction to the Transcendental Meditation program as taught by Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. My name is Louise Allison. I'm a certified teacher of Transcendental Meditation for over 30 years, and it's my joy to share this profound and practical knowledge with you today. I want you to know today that for whatever reason you've come to this presentation, you will experience improvements in all these areas, reductions in stress, increased happiness, better health. But Transcendental Meditation is much more than a stress management technique. It's a technique to unfold the full creative potential of the individual. And this is what enlightenment is. It's simply the unfoldment of our full mental potential. So I look forward today to sharing this knowledge with you, and I hope by the end of this lecture you'll appreciate why I say that TM is the single most important thing that you can add to your daily routine, because it will make every aspect of your life better, because you'll be happier, clearer, more creative, and more fulfilled in yourself as a result. So let's begin. Transcendental Meditation was brought to the West, and by the way, revived in the East, about 50 years ago by Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, the great sage and scientist of consciousness. Since that time, millions of people have learned Transcendental Meditation from every culture, religion, race, age, educational background. And in addition, over 600 scientific studies have been done on TM worldwide. I'm proud to mention, in addition, that many of these studies have been published in peer-reviewed scientific journals. Journals like Scientific American, the Journal of Clinical Psychology, the American Heart Association's journals, Hypertension and Stroke, and many other prestigious journals. This is important so that you feel confident that the research on TM is good research, and that the benefits that we'll be talking about today are truly validated and will work for you, that you'll have this experience in your own personal life. What Transcendental Meditation is a simple, natural, completely effortless mental technique. And a technique means it's automatic. Whether you believe in electricity or not, if I turn on the light switch in here, electrical currents will begin to flow, and then there will be a room full of light. In the same way, whether you believe in the technique, whether you believe anything I say today, if you practice it the way that it's taught, you will experience the mind settling down to deeper and deeper levels of the thought processes and experiencing a profound calm, inner calm and peace. And correspondingly, you'll experience the body gaining a very deep level of relaxation. And as a result of this profound inner calm and relaxation, every area of your life will benefit. So let's talk now a little bit about what happens in the practice so that you have a context in which to appreciate the research and the benefits of TM. This is what I call the bubble diagram, and in it I'm comparing the mind to the ocean. On the surface of the ocean, there's lots of activity, lots of waves, choppy waves, big ones and little ones. In the same way, on the surface of our mind, we're constantly having thoughts about the past and the present and the future. At deeper levels of the ocean, there's great silence and great power. At the base of the ocean is a completely silent, peaceful, settled state. Similarly, deep within the mind, there's great silence and great power. And at the source of thought, deep within the mind, is a field of complete, perfect peace. It's also a field of unlimited energy, intelligence, creativity, and happiness. Let's also take a moment, and by the way, the bubble in this diagram represents a thought. Normally, if we're swimming on the surface of the ocean, we don't notice it when a bubble comes out of a clam's mouth at the base of the ocean floor, and then the bubble begins to rise and it bursts on the surface of the ocean, and then we notice it. Similarly, we don't experience thoughts deep within the mind at their inception, but as the thought rises into the conscious mind, then we experience it on the surface of the mind. In Transcendental Meditation, basically what happens is that we experience a thought at our normal conscious thinking level, and spontaneously we find ourselves experiencing it at a more quiet level of the thought process, and then again, yet another more quiet level. So we begin to transcend the surface level of experience and of thinking, and enjoy more subtle, more abstract, more refined levels of thought until we go beyond thought altogether and experience the source of thought, the field of pure consciousness, a state where our awareness is in the character of unboundedness, because there's no boundary to our perception or our thought. And in this state of restful alertness, the mind is infused with great energy, intelligence, creativity, and happiness. Now, let's get practical and talk about what this experience actually translates into in terms of the functioning of the brain and the physiology during the technique and the benefits of it in activity. Scientists say we use a very small fraction of the mind, 5 or 10%. The reason I believe that this is the case is because in general, our experience stimulates the brain in a very specified, localized way. When we're doing art, we're stimulating the right side of the brain. When we're doing math, the left side. If we're playing the violin, we're stimulating some other area of the brain. And in each instance, it's a very specified, particular experience. What research has found with Transcendental Meditation is that the experience of transcending actually enlivens the total brain. And you'll see in this chart two views of the brain, one outside of meditation where a very small black dot is illustrated, and that's showing a localized or specified cortical response to an experience. And in the other brain, you see a widespread enlivenment of the brain. This is because there's increased blood flow to the total brain. And this supports the idea that TM is a technique to unfold the full potential of the mind. So this is the first thing, is that TM is enlivening the whole brain. Secondly, what we find is that the actual frequency of activity in the brain is that of alpha, which is a restful state, but a state of alertness. And thirdly, what we find is that this alertness, this restful alertness, this alpha experience is actually being experienced in all parts of the brain together. And this is what's called coherence, EEG coherence. So you'll see in this chart what looks like mountain peaks, and they're all synchronized across the front, the middle, and the back of the brain. So what's happening in the brain during TM is this extraordinary integration of all the different parts of the brain, enlivenment of the total brain. What happens in the physiology is that it experiences profound rest. So let's look at some of the research on this. Basically, what we're looking at in this study is a comparison of Transcendental Meditation technique to resting with eyes closed. And three main parameters are being looked at: galvanic skin response, respiration rate, and plasma lactate. Basically, what it's showing is that during Transcendental Meditation, the profound relaxation that occurs causes the palm to be so dry that galvanic skin response is very low. That means that because your palm is not moist, you can't pass an electrical current over it. So it shows a profound state of calm. Respiration, of course, is a measure of how relaxed you are. So you see it drops dramatically during TM compared to resting. And plasma lactate is a hormone, a stress hormone associated with muscle tension and anxiety. Drops significantly during the TM technique. So what we see then from the research on the brain and the physiology and many other studies related to the experience is that overall Transcendental Meditation produces a state of restful alertness, profound relaxation in the physiology, calm in the mind, but wide awake and alert. And it's this state of restful alertness that's the basis of all the benefits. In the area of mental functioning and creativity and learning ability, we have an enormous body of research because it's so easy to study. For example, students, thousands of students have learned Transcendental Meditation around the world. And you'll see in the next chart, called Optimization of Brain Functioning, a correlation of the EEG coherence, that's electroencephalographic coherence, this orderly brain functioning, with the many findings that have occurred outside of TM. For example, IQ is found to increase in meditators. This is something that was considered to be a fixed quotient that doesn't really change after our teen years. And yet here with this technique, we find that even in a period as short as 2 years, IQ has been found to increase as much as 6 points. Creativity is found to increase. Grade point average is found to go up. Exam scores go up. Memory improves and learning ability. There's greater neurological efficiency. And of course, it's associated with the experience of transcendental consciousness, as you see in this chart. Also interesting in this chart, you'll see there's decreased neuroticism and improved moral reasoning. I like this in particular because it shows that we're all essentially good, and that it's only the fact that we're not using the full potential of the mind and that we're stressed that we behave in ways that are not positive and loving and nourishing to ourselves and everyone else. In addition to these findings, research has shown greater ability to maintain a broad comprehension while we focus in on details. This is called field independence. This is a very important finding. Again, it illustrates this greater integration between the different parts of the brain, between that area of the brain which functions in a holistic way and the area of the brain which focuses in on details. Academic performance has been found to increase in meditators. I already mentioned creativity and intelligence, exam scores, and in addition, I think this is interesting. We've done research in nursing homes where people are over 81 years of age. And even in the elderly, we find increased cognitive flexibility, increased longevity, and improved quality of life. So this demonstrates that the brain is extremely plastic and fluid, and that it can continue to develop throughout life, and that all that's needed, in fact, is an experience that enlivens the total brain. And this is what Transcendental Meditation does. It's actually enlivening all the neurons of the brain so that we begin to unfold more of our creative potential in daily life. Clear thinking is important for everyone, not just for students or lawyers or doctors. Clear thinking is the basis of action, and action is the basis of achievement, and our achievements bring us a degree of fulfillment in life. So this is why it's important to develop the full potential of the mind in our daily lives so that we can begin to enjoy success and the fulfillment of all our desires in everything that we do. So let's talk about the benefits now in the area of health. It's common knowledge today that the vast majority of disease is preventable. The National Institutes of Health have actually stated that as much as 75% of disease is either caused or aggravated by stress. This means that if we can eliminate inner stress, we can eliminate the very cause of disease. In the best possible way, we can reduce healthcare costs and enjoy a healthy, happy, long life. Already we can see from what I've said about the experience of transcendental consciousness, we see that it's actually the opposite, if you will, of the stress response, the fight or flight response, wherein the body begins to pump hormones through our veins in order to prepare us to fight or to flee in the face of some grave danger. As you know, nowadays people are having this experience of the stress response, the fight or flight response, over everyday experiences simply because of the pressures of daily living and the many things that we have to tend to in our personal lives. The experience of transcendental consciousness being the opposite of the fight or flight response, a state you could say of equilibrium, of balance, of peace, of relaxation and calmness in the mind, allows the body to heal itself and rejuvenate itself. It's an interesting situation that this simple technique has very far-reaching effects on the functioning of our physiology and in the improvements of every aspect of health. And yet, on the other hand, it's not so surprising that it would, because it's built into the intelligence of every cell of our body to heal itself and rejuvenate itself. But because we're always going, we don't really give the body an opportunity to properly heal itself. We go so much that when we go to sleep at night, we don't get the rest that we need so that the body doesn't actually purify itself properly. We wake up a little bit tired still and continue the cycle of the influence of stress. Transcendental meditation reverses this influence by providing profound rest to the body and allowing stress to spontaneously dissolve. When the stress is dissolved, the innate intelligence in our physiology heals the body and rejuvenates it, and we find we're just not sick as often as we were before, and we have more energy than we did before. This first scientific study I'd like to show you was a study conducted by a major health insurance company in the United States over a 5-year period, looking at over 2,000 TM meditators. And essentially what was found, as you can see in the chart, is that the meditators used the hospital 56% less than the norm, and the doctor 76% less than the norm. In addition, this study broke down the results in all categories of disease, and the most remarkable results were in the areas of cardiovascular disease, where you see 86% less hospitalization due to cardiovascular disease. You'll see nervous system disorders less, 76%, cancer, 55% less, nose, throat, and lung problems, approximately 75% less. And in every category of disease, whether it was muscles, bones, gum disease, every category of disease, the meditators used the doctor in the hospital less than the general public. One of the most important areas of health today is cardiovascular health and the risk factors that are associated with it. It's also interesting to note that rigorous research, published research on TM, has shown that the risk factors associated with heart disease are reduced significantly through the Transcendental Meditation program. Risk factors include high blood pressure, smoking, alcohol abuse, stress, and many other factors. If we look at the next study we see that was published by the American Heart Association's journal Hypertension, you'll see that Transcendental Meditation program reduced blood pressure in a group of elderly African Americans as much as medication did, and this was over a 6-month period. The good news is there were no negative side effects and lots of positive side effects from this modality. In addition, the study published by the American Heart Association's journal Stroke showed a reduction in the thickness of the walls of the carotid artery by 15%. Sometimes people scratch their head and think, how can this be? I haven't changed my diet, I'm not exercising more. So how do you remove a substance in the walls of the artery? Well, again, it's the intelligence of the body purifying itself, healing itself, and creating balance. We know that when our nervous system is stressed, our immune system is compromised. And when our immune system is compromised, many different kinds of disease result. And speaking of disease, just look at the word disease. It's dis-ease, a lack of ease in the functioning of our physiology. If we can create a perfect state of ease and calm and balance in our physiology, then naturally health begins to improve. And this is what we've seen in every category of disease. I think the bottom line for meditators is that they experience that they have more energy than they did before and they don't get sick as often. The next study I'd like to refer to is a study on reduced anxiety. This is your baseline trait anxiety throughout the day. Since we're talking about stress, I think it's important to look at this. This is another meta-analysis. It's actually the result of 146 independent outcomes that looked at Transcendental Meditation and compared it to every form of meditation, muscle relaxation, biofeedback, mantra meditation, techniques that attempted to mimic TM, and compared all of these different techniques for how much they reduced baseline anxiety throughout the day. And you'll see in this chart that the outcome, the result of the reduction in anxiety for all the other programs was not significant at all. In fact, it was about the level of what's called a placebo. And yet the reduction in trait anxiety was 2 to 4 times greater. This is so important because this is showing us several things. Number one, the changes that occur in our daily life as a result of Transcendental Meditation are real, because they're the result of changes in the functioning of our nervous system during TM, twice a day. We're actually creating this profound state of rest, and this is beginning to carry over into our daily life. And that means we experience greater calm even when we're in the midst of dynamic activity. And it also underscores the fact that the TM technique is unique compared to all the other programs for reducing anxiety that are available. This study, by the way, was conducted at Stanford University and published in the Journal of Clinical Psychology. It's a very excellent meta-analysis, the most strong type of research to show results. In addition, something else beautiful happens when you begin to meditate, and that is that you spontaneously begin to make better lifestyle choices. It's as if this inner experience of calm and stillness creates balance and happiness. And so when we come out of this experience, our point of reference is our own state of balance and happiness. And what we find, and this is my experience and the experience of everyone I teach, is that people start to just choose things that reinforce that experience rather than things that take it away. Things like drugs or alcohol or cigarettes, which we talked about earlier, or tobacco use. So naturally, we're getting healthier from the actual experience of meditation. In addition, we're beginning to make better lifestyle choices, and that's improving our health and well-being. And we're just enjoying life, in fact, more and more and more. You might find that those choices that you make, maybe you don't smoke or drink excessively or use drugs, but you may find that this experience occurs in other areas of your life. Decisions about what's best for you, what to eat, how much to sleep, or what to do, what direction to take in your own personal life. These things spontaneously start to grow in meditators as a result of this experience of our own inner self, which is balanced and peaceful and blissful, actually. And this brings us to the next section that I'd like to talk about, which is the benefits of TM on relationships and on behavior. I think it's a common experience of everyone that when we feel nice inside, we're nice to everyone else. And when we don't feel good inside, we're not as nice. Successful relationships are based on our ability to give, how much we have to give, how much love, how much appreciation, how much help, how much guidance, how much protection and support. If we're happy inside, if we feel confident in ourselves, if we're fulfilling our desires, we're more creative, successful, then naturally we feel good about ourselves and we feel good about others and we have more to give. The world is as we are, and if we can increase our own consciousness and our own happiness, we'll see that reflected back to us in those who are near and dear to us. And we'll also find that in relationships with people who maybe we don't find as interesting or charming, that we're more understanding, we're more tolerant, and we're more appreciative. And depending on our own state of consciousness, it determines what we perceive around us and how much we appreciate. And the more that we grow in the ability to perceive finer values within our own consciousness, then spontaneously we find ourselves perceiving and appreciate more refined values in others and in everything around us and in the whole creation. And this is really the basis of the ability to love, because when we appreciate something or someone so much that we can't use any other word to describe it, then we just say, I love this person. So if you want to improve your relationships, if you want to have meaningful relationships, what we recommend is developing consciousness, becoming more awake inside, becoming fully awake inside. The strength and the unity of every relationship depends on the strength of our own consciousness. And research on meditators, personality inventories, for example, show that meditators grow in happiness, in the ability to have warm interpersonal relationships, grow in self-worth, in the sense of increased self-esteem and increased self-confidence. And already we've seen how creativity and intelligence and energy and vitality grow. So combined with all of these things, what we find is that our ability to really appreciate and have meaningful interactions with others grows from this simple twice daily practice. I think you can see that if each of us could grow in this ability to actualize our latent potential, to be fulfilled individuals, to be creative individuals, and to be at peace within ourselves, that then we could really begin to make a significant contribution to creating world peace. And this is the last area that I want to talk about, how that we can improve the quality of life in a significant way. World peace has been the goal of all societies for all times. Since the United Nations was formed, I believe as many peace treaties as have been signed, that many have been broken. There have been over 150 wars. Certainly it's evident that peace cannot be created by signing a piece of paper, certainly not by going to war. But if we could have a significant number of peaceful individuals, then we can begin to imagine transforming our world family into a truly peaceful world. It's kind of like a green forest. If you want to have a green forest, you have to have many green trees. So if we want a peaceful world, we need many peaceful individuals. The good news is that we don't need for everyone to meditate, to have a very powerful influence of harmony and peace in our surroundings. The sociological research on TM is some of the best in the social sciences, and what it's found is that when just 1% of a population practices transcendental meditation, that it has an effect on the rest of the population. The very first study done on TM was done in the 70s, actually in 24 cities in the United States. 12 of them had relatively few TM meditators, and 12 of them, 1% of the population, had learned transcendental meditation. All the cities, by the way, were similar in size, education, and economic background. In that year, in the nation as a whole, crime rate was going up everywhere, about 7%. And in almost every control city, it was rising at the same rate. But in every TM city, crime rate was dropping 7 to 14%. This is a remarkable and dramatic shift in the collective consciousness from a negative direction to a more positive direction. And not only have crime rates dropped as a result of TM, but accident rates, sickness rates, even other factors that you associate with the overall quality of life, like divorce rates and weather conditions and patent applications, all indicate an increase in positivity, a new direction in society. I think it's nice for you to know that for whatever reason you may decide to learn transcendental meditation, whether you want to unfold more creative intelligence in your daily life, whether you want better health, whether you want more happiness and better relationships, that whatever reason you begin, you will be making the most significant contribution you can to creating an ideal quality of life in your community, in your nation, and in your whole world. You can see from all that I've said today that TM's not a technique that aims at improving any one area of life. It's a technique that's nourishing life as a whole. It's like watering the root of a tree. You know, if this plant were withering on the surface, the leaves were withering, and I went and sprayed the leaves with some fertilizer, you'd probably think I was a little bit off and that perhaps I might consider going to a deeper level and watering the root. And in so doing, not only would the leaves become brighter and greener and healthier, but so would the stem, so would the flower, and if it had fruit, the fruit would be sweeter and more delicious. So by watering the root, you nourish the whole plant. In our own personal lives, generally, most of us don't know what is the one root cause of all problems. The root cause of all problems is weakness born of stress that comes from not using the full potential of the mind, from not experiencing our true nature, which is infinite. Every meditator experiences that when we dive in to our own self in meditation, we experience this state of transcendental consciousness, that life begins to become better and better and better. So if you want to improve every aspect of life, then begin transcendental meditation, water the root, and enjoy the fruit.